What's up, everybody? So today I just wanted to talk about this image that has been circulating around some communities. Basically it's about the best formations that we currently have in the game. It's been on the, I don't know, some Last Altar Facebooks and Discords and things like that. And I basically just want to talk about the heroes, why the formations are good, or why I don't think they're that good, and then yeah, talking about sort of what they're missing. So if you guys are unaware, I'm playing on state 359. Over here is my main account. I'm playing Doomsday on it right now. You know, gotta get some tiles. Let's go 11s. And then over here is my alt. So the reason why I wanted to make this video is I am actually the developer for a app on the Google Play Store related to Last Shelter, and I have my line ID on that app, so people message me all the time with questions or feedback about the app, and I've gotten a lot of questions recently about heroes, things like that. One of the upcoming features is actually a hero sort of ranking system. So essentially you would select 3 heroes and it'll output a number similar to the number on the picture. So that should be cool. That'll be coming out sometime soon. But anyway, so I'm basically just going to be talking about the vehicle formations in today's video. And other ones I'll talk about the shooters, fighters, and then sort of mixed APCs. I actually think mixed APCs right now are very, very good, especially with Baneblade. They just become pretty insane because it doesn't really matter if it's vehicles, shooters, fighters, parts. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, we'll notice that the first kind of formation is Heaven's Organic Death Ride. So this formation is super good. Got a score out of 10. I mean 10 out of 10 obviously, but I'll pretty much show you why. So this formation has a lot of CC, a lot of support, and a lot of not that much damage, but some pretty good damage. So I actually don't have any X heroes on my alt. Like I mentioned, this is an alt account. So basically what Heaven's Redemption does is a support vehicle hero. He recovers troops. He also removes debuffs, so this is just pretty insane. 84% recovery on a 55% chance, but it's for 2 enemy squads, so I mean you can think of it as 110%, or sorry, 55% chance to do 168. So that's pretty good. And it does it on any squad. So he also has a really, really good silence. 40% chance to silence 2 enemy squads, and they will deal 20% less damage for 2 turns. So this is very high percent. It's the entire game, so a lot of heroes have silences, you know, in the beginning rounds or kind of more towards the end, but he silences 2 enemies at a 40% chance. Very, very strong. His 8th skill, it's a 30% chance to make all friendly squads have a 60% chance of entering evasion, so it's a little weird, but basically 30% chance to activate, and then each friendly squad has a 60% chance calculation to enter an evasion. And this is for the next 3 damages, so it's not turn-based, but if you get 3 auto-attacked, or 3 skills, or 1 skill, 2 auto-attacks, etc., etc., it'll evade all of that damage. And it also increases, and separately, it'll increase their might and resistance 47% for 2 turns, so regardless of the damage. So a lot of recovery, a lot of buffs, cleanses, so he cleanses debuffs or removes. Cleanse is kind of like a MOBA term, League of Legends style, whatever, Dota. And then he silences at a very high rate and to 2 enemies. That silence portion goes really well with organic, so I did a video a couple days ago explaining organic and sort of what he does, but he works off of CCs, and I'll kind of show you why. So organic's first skill, he does a lot of damage, 40% chance to attack basically twice, and deal, what, 686? 696 actually, so basically 700 damage. And this is the skill that where he synergizes very well with CC. So Hard Pursuit, his second skill or fifth skill. All friendly squads deal plus 70% damage to basically CC targets silenced, disarmed, suppressed, and confused. And also, whenever there's CC, there's a 30% chance to extend that duration. So Heaven's Redemption is going to silence 2 enemies, potentially. 40% chance to silence 2 enemies. For those 2 turns, there's a 30% chance on each silence that it'll be extended 1 turn. So theoretically, you could have 2 squads silenced for 3 turns. And then every friendly squad, so Heaven's Organic Death Ride in this example, will be dealing plus 70% damage. So it's really, really huge, and it works very, very well with the silence from Heaven. His 8th skill, basically in the first 3 turns, 2 squads deal less, or 30% less damage. And then on the 4th turn, they become confused. Confusion's a really, really good CC. Because you can basically, if you confuse an enemy squad, they'll attack pretty much anybody within range, so they could even attack their own teammates or themselves. And this will last for 2 turns, and it'll synergize very well with his 5th skill. It can increase the duration, etc., and also, you know, they'll deal more damage. This doesn't multiply or add if there's double CC on a unit. It's just 1. So it doesn't matter if they're silenced and confused. It's only going to be plus 70. So that's Organic. He does good damage with his secret weapon. He basically makes everybody else do damage, and he increases CC. And then he also confuses and makes them deal less damage in the beginning. His 6th skill, he just does more damage. And then he has a Might hero, so another support vehicle hero. And then finally we get to Death Rider. So Death Rider is a ranged vehicle hero. Ranged basically means you pretty much want to put them in the back line and they're going to be doing decent damage. So his first ability, 60% to deal 226 to 2 enemy squads. So what, 450, pretty much 452 damage at a 60%, pretty good. His 5th skill is a prep, so it's a 1-turn prep. He has a 40% chance to deal almost 600 damage to one squad. And then additionally, he has a 60% chance of dealing 310 damage to the back row squad. So it doesn't matter who he damages, but there's an additional 60% chance to deal 310 damage to the back row squad, and then he'll suppress them for 1 turn. Again, this is going to synergize well with Organic, so you can see how this is kind of working out really well. This also does a shit ton of damage, so 600 plus potentially an additional 310. I mean, that's 900. So, very good. His 6th skill, he also has increased vehicle damage. Something really cool though, he has increased demolition power. So this is cool for, I guess, zeroing bases, if that's kind of what you're into, but more so for Doomsday. You'll be able to take tiles without needing specialty points. So if you have a full vehicle APC, you can take tiles in 1 hit, enemy tiles in 1 hit, or you'll do more damage to gates and cities, etc. He's also a Might hero, so 3 Might heroes. And then his 8th skill, Unstoppable Charge. So this is kind of interesting, but basically it means he's immune to, it's just a buff. So he's immune to basically all CC, which is super overpowered because CC is definitely the meta in X, Season X or whatever. And then he gains 60% might for the whole time, the whole battle, and he deals 30% additional damage. So he just does a shit ton of damage. He's pretty cool. And that's essentially the reason why that APC is the best. So before Organic, The APC that people would run is the third one, so Kamikaze, Heaven, Death Rider. But now Organic's kind of being placed in there, and that synergy with Organic's fifth ability is really what sets that apart. Everybody in that APC formation has CCs, and they, yeah, that's pretty much why. So the next one, basically the same two heroes, Heaven's Organic, and then we have Captain Ivanoff. So Ivanoff, he also has some CC. He's kind of similar to Death Rider, so you put him in the back, he's a ranged vehicle hero, you put him in the back, he's going to do a significant amount of damage, and he also has some CC. So Ivanoff's second ability, after a basic attack, there is a 40% chance to do 2 more basic attacks to whoever. And each one of those attacks is going to do 348 damage. So that's a lot. This is basically 700 damage with a 40% chance on every basic attack. With that said, after a basic attack from Ivanoff, there's a 34% chance that he'll deal 465% damage to an enemy squad and silence them for 1 turn. So this essentially means if this is proccing, right, so there's a 40% chance he's going to be dealing 700 damage. There's an additional 34% chance that he's going to deal 465 and potentially silence. So this is just, I mean, he just synergizes great with himself. Basically, these 2 skills are insane. It's crazy that he's an S2 hero, and he's basically in one of the best formations in the game. Several of the best formations in the game. So he's very strong. If you're in Season 2, or I guess if you're you're kind of newer, you haven't unlocked these Season X heroes, I definitely recommend saving up your tickets to splurge on Season X heroes. They're basically all better, but if you want, Ivanoff is definitely a hero to shoot for. If he comes up in the token shops, you're definitely going to want to buy him. He's strong in pretty much every season so far. We'll see how that goes later on, but that's my recommendation. Oh yeah, and then sorry, I forgot to show his 8th ability, but his 8th ability, he just gets more damage to himself. So he just increases his own damage by 80%. His 6th ability, he just has plus vehicle speed, and then he has might. So it's very similar to Death Rider. You're kind of just plugging him in and out. He does also have CC, and he does a lot of damage. However, Death Rider, arguably a little bit better because he's immune to all CC. So, if Ivanoff's CC'd, he's not going to be doing really any damage, whereas Death Rider was always going to be doing damage. So anyway, the third, so that's a 9.9 out of 10. I mean, but, very, very similar. Obviously, RNG is going to play a role. So if you have the second formation, you could still beat the first. It's not a problem. So moving on, we have Kamikaze introduced. So Kamikaze is a Season X hero. He's basically a frontliner, frontline tank, essentially. Here he is. Defense, I guess is what it's called in this game. So his second ability, when he takes damage, there's a 50% chance to deal 63 damage to 2 squads. So basically just a counter attack at 50%, and he deals 126. It's okay. It's honestly not that good. There are better counterattacks, but it's definitely a fine skill, and it pretty much always triggers, so that's good. Because he's in the front line. So his 5th ability, his squad and another friendly squad recover 96.5% troops every single turn. So this is a pre-battle effect, or skill, I guess. So it doesn't matter if he's CC'd, doesn't really matter anything like that. You'll basically just be recovering 100 every turn. And this is multiplied by 2 because there's 2 squads, so almost 200. Very, very strong recovery. His sixth ability, 120 vehicle speed, so he becomes basically one of the fastest squads in the game. Also a might hero, so might's really good. Attack, basically like offense has become very, very strong with the damage calculation change that they did maybe a month ago. Plus with Baneblade, attack, damage just becomes very strong. So a lot of these, you'll notice might, especially for vehicles, is pretty much the constant factor. And then his 8th skill, One Man Legion. So this is okay. There's a 40% chance to reduce the damage that he takes, which is interesting. And then he basically like increases it's kind of confusing, but he reduces his own damage and the damage to 2 of his other squads. So essentially you can just think of it, 40% chance to reduce minus 30 damage for every squad for 2 turns. I don't know why they worded it that way. I mean, their localization is always pretty awful, but that's kind of how that works. So he just buffs everybody, makes them tankier. So he's great in the front line because he counterattacks and he heals a shit ton. If you pair him up with Heavens, you're going to be doing a shit ton of healing. And he doesn't really need to do that much damage because you have Death Rider, you know, dishing out all the damage, and while he's just going to be essentially healing and tanking everything, and then buffing the rest of the squads. So the next one, you know, Kamikaze is always basically going to be in the front. You never really want to put him elsewhere. But then you're going to introduce Ivanoff, again for a similar reason. He just does a shit ton of damage, has some decent CC. And he synergizes great with himself, so Ivanoff's a cool hero. And then we have Countdown in the 3rd slot. So this one's a little interesting. Countdown doesn't really have any synergy with these heroes. So what Countdown does is she has her first ability. Oh, mine's level 1, so let's go to the max. Her second skill is a prep, 35% chance to deal 261 to all enemy squads, so you'd multiply this by 3, and that's what, like 773 or something like that. So that's pretty cool. 783 actually, I think, with a 35% chance, and it's a prep. So it's just damage, a lot of damage. Her 5th ability, 30% chance to deal 255 to all enemy squads. So again, multiply this by 3. So what, 785? And then also what's additional to that is that every single squad is then going to be unable to recover units for 2 turns. So this is really good because recovery is very prominent in this meta. So Heaven's Redemption's recovering, Kamikaze's recovering, etc., etc. Her 6th ability, just more damage. Everybody's just damage. Everybody's might. And yeah, just trying to deal a lot of damage, recover, like CC. So her 8th ability is kind of what makes Countdown interesting. She can't basic attack, but she increases her skill damage 35% and then deals 300 skill damage every single time. So yeah, she just does a shit ton of damage. She's very cool, very good, and just does tons of damage. So I guess that's why she's in there. There's really no synergy. I don't know why Ivanoff and Countdown have to be in there. It's a little weird, but they're both great heroes, so you can kind of just plug them in. At this point, you'll notice that you can basically just plug in the heroes where they should go, and they're gonna do fine. What's interesting is that got a 9.9. So I don't know. Obviously I haven't tried out that. I don't have Kamikaze. Our state has not even been able to get Kamikaze yet. So even if I was a big pay-to-win whale, I wouldn't have him. We can move on to the next one. So the next one's basically Kamikaze, Heavens, Ivanoff. I mean, very similar to what we had seen before. All 3 of those heroes are just great in their own right. Put together, there's a lot of recovery, good CC from Heavens, and good damage and CC from Ivanoff. So just all around good squad. Going further, we see the first introduction to Major, or Anna, or however people want to call her. So Anna's pretty cool. She's a support hero, support vehicle, unit. So her second skill gives a 30% chance to remove all debuffs. So kind of similar to Heaven's ability, but this is all debuffs on friendly vehicles and shooters. So shooters is interesting. Once we get into the mixed APCs, I'll kind of be talking about this a little bit more. This doesn't include the debuffs from pre-battle skills like there's a bunch of pre-battle skills. I'm not going to list them all off, but there's a lot. So essentially it means it'll remove debuffs from, like, you know, silences during the round or things like that. She also gives all friendly vehicle squads their basic attacks a 25% chance to cause 1 turn suppression, and that'll last 1 turn. So this works super duper well with Ivanoff. Most people are familiar with the Season 2 lineup. Panther, Anna, Ivanoff. Everybody's just going to be doing a shit ton of basic attacks. There's a bunch of opportunity for suppression. And this works really well with Ivanoff's because, like I had mentioned, after Ivanoff's basic attack, he does more basic attacks and deals more damage, etc., etc. Her 5th ability, for the first 3 turns, all friendly squads have 100% increased battle speed. So this basically means battle speed indicates which squad goes first. So parts increase battle speed, probably technology, I don't really remember. And some heroes increase battle speed. So they'll be going first, which gives them the opportunity to CC, to deal more damage, etc. Additionally, every friendly squad has a 70% chance to deal 2 basic attacks each turn for the first 3 turns. And this goes along with this. So if they're basically given Blitzkrieg, they'll then have a 25% chance to cause suppression. This is going to make them deal 2 basic attacks, so you can see how that's synergizing pretty well with herself. Her 6th ability, she has increased vehicle speed. So again, she's basically going to Blitzkrieg before anybody else in her APC, which is a great reason why she has vehicle speed. So she can activate this first, as well as Crimson Tide. This is a pre-battle skill, so this doesn't really matter, but Blitzkrieg matters. Also, again, a Might hero. You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Might for vehicles is definitely the meta. And if that's not obvious by now, then I don't know what is. Her 8th ability, Slaughtering Siege. So this is just kind of a pre-battle debuff. During battle, whenever 2 random enemy squads take damage, they'll take an additional 12% extra damage, and this can stack 5 times. So 60% damage eventually on 2 squads. It's a pretty good skill. Basically just they'll take additional damage. So yeah, it's a little interesting that Anna's placed up with Kamikaze and Death Rider, just because they don't actually have like basic attack modifiers, but whatever. I haven't tested it out, like I said. I'm just kind of commenting on these. Moving further, we see Vanguard in here. Now, I do not really get this one at all. I think the only reason is this ability, but I'll explain what Vanguard's doing. So Vanguard's 2nd ability, all friendly vehicle squads take 20% basic, all friendly vehicle squads have 20% less basic attack damage, but 45 increased combat skill damage. So combat skills are, you know, the 2, 5, 8 skills, but she decreases her own team's basic attacks. So that's interesting. The reason why I said this is probably the reason is because if you consider Death Rider, he's doing a lot of combat skill damage, and this is just going to increase it further. So she's essentially here to buff Death Rider. Her 5th ability, so in the first 2 turns, whenever the Vanguard's squad takes damage, there's a 70% chance to evade that damage. It's not great, it's only for 2 turns, but it is what it is. Her 8th ability is pretty cool, quick reload, so on turns 1, 3, 5, and 7, there's a 100% chance to increase the casting for one squad's final combat skill to 100, so they'll automatically cast that skill. If that skill has a prep, so 1 turn prep, 2 turn prep, there's a 60% chance to yeah, I don't know what, I mean this translation's terrible, but there's a 60% chance to skip 1 turn of that prep. So if it's a 1 turn prep skill, it's just going to automatically activate, doesn't matter if it's been prepped or not. If it's a 2 turn skill, it'll take 1 turn to prep. Her 6th ability, just more vehicle speed, which basically means that she can quick reload before her other allies attack, and then again, a might hero. So the problem with her 8th ability is that Death Rider, his 8th ability is just a buff, so you're not going to be activating this ability. This is a pre-battle skill, so she can't activate this with quick reload. So that's kind of a waste on Death Rider. If she activates it on herself, also a waste, because I mean she's just going to activate her own skill, which isn't going to do anything. But if she activates it on, oops, sorry, not Heavens, Kamikaze, there we go. So if she activates it on Kamikaze, it works out because he's going to automatically cast this and basically just make them tankier. Still don't really see why it's that good. I don't think Vanguard is amazing without countdown, but yeah. So then finally we get into Crusher. He's kind of the final hero that we see here until the very end. We'll get to Farseer. Crusher, very similar to Kamikaze. He's basically a frontline defense vehicle unit. And yeah, acts pretty similar to Kamikaze. So whenever he takes, or his squad takes basic attacks, he kind of enters this first aid status, which is like nothing really. But he recovers his troops 20% for each turn, and this lasts twice, and this can stack 8 times. So, I mean, if he's getting basic attacked a shit ton, let's say there's Ivanoff and, whoever, this recovery becomes pretty huge. But it's pretty specific to fighting against those heroes. Anyway, his 5th ability, Overheat. So this is kind of cool. It's kind of like a, I guess if you played Pokemon, it's kind of like a return ability. So he has a 60% chance to deal 331 to 2 enemy squads, so 662% damage. But he deals 331 to himself. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. But since he has all of this recovery, or he has the opportunity for all this recovery, it's valuable for him to be dealing this damage and taking damage, because he's just, the theory is that he's going to recover it. His 6th ability, plus 20 vehicle speed, so not great, to be honest. I don't know why it's plus 20 when other heroes have like plus 180. He's a might hero, don't have to explain that anymore. And then his 8th ability is cool, it's a taunt. So he has a 50% chance to taunt 2 random enemy squads. This lasts for 2 turns. And then he enters counterattack status. So he'll return 150% damage when basic attacked, and then he'll increase his own resistance. And the taunt and the counterattack lasts for 2 turns. So at a 50% chance for 2 turns, you can almost think of it as 100%, but obviously that's not how statistics work. But, in a perfect world, I guess that's what you'd be getting. So that's Kamikaze. Obviously, it obviously makes sense why he's the frontliner. First off, his abilities, so his skills. Generally, the way that you want to place these heroes is based on their range. So that's kind of the first thing that you're going to look at. So for example, this ability has an effective range of 3, which means he can attack if he's in the front line. Okay, I guess I'll kind of explain how range works. So range works by basically how many squads there are in front of this hero. So if we place him in the 3rd row, I'll basically just show how this is working. So if we place him back here, this is 1 squad, 2 squads, and then the first enemy would be the 3rd squad. If we place him in the 2nd row, it's going to go 1 squad, 2 squad, 3 squad. So he can either attack the second or the first squad. And if you place him in the front, he can attack 1. Pretend these are enemies, obviously. The 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. So that's why you place them in the front. Those types of heroes. If they have an effective range of 3, generally they go in front. It's kind of the simple way. 4, so skills with an effective range of 4 generally go in the middle, and then skills with an effective range of 5 are gonna go at the back. And you basically just take the shortest effective range. So if you see 1 or if you see friendly squads, it's obviously different. But when it's enemy squads, 3 goes in the front, right? Quick explanation of that. And the other reason is he basically wants to take basic attacks, so he's tanky. He wants to take basic attacks, because he has the chance to counterattack with this ability, and he also recovers a lot. So yeah, obviously you're gonna put him in front. Same with Kamikaze. So that basically covers every hero. Then you're kind of just mixing and matching these heroes, and you'll basically get a really good squad. Finally, we see the 3 ladies. So that's Vanguard, Farseer, Countdown. So I already mentioned Vanguard. She's generally you put her in the front because she has that evasion skill. I mean, she kind of just buffs her teammates. She's not really needed in battle. Other than that, where's Farseer? So Farseer usually goes in the middle. She has, she kind of just debuffs enemies. So 40% chance to deal 255 to 2 random squads, so 510. And she decreases their might and resistance by 55% for 2 turns. So that's really big might and resistance decrease, which is one of the reasons why she's very good. Her 5th ability, during battle, whenever she's casting a skill that needs prep, she has a 100% chance to enter the state of clarity, which essentially just means she's immune to CC. This lasts 2 turns, and while under this Falcon Eye, or I guess clarity, she has a 100% chance to increase, after casting a combat skill, she has a 100% chance to increase the might and resistance of 2 friendly squads by 100% for 2 turns. So this is really good. She becomes immune to CC, and then she buffs her team by a shit ton. Her 5th skill is 15% increased vehicle damage, pretty good. Might hero. And then EMP is one of her good ones. So this is a prep skill, which is why Vanguard's quick reload is going to work very well with Farseer, because it'll ignore this prep and give it a 100% chance to deal almost 200 damage to all enemy squads, so almost 600 damage. So she silences all the enemy squads for 1 turn, and then she'll enter her clarity state with that, which is just going to buff everybody else. So very good skill, and that's kind of why she synergizes really well with Vanguard. Vanguard synergizes great with Countdown because if you remembered, I mean, or I can show you. Do I have Vanguard in this event? Oh, I guess I do. So Vanguard's 2nd ability, Capacitor Flux, makes all friendly vehicle squads deal 20% less basic attack damage and increase 45% combat skill damage. Countdown, if you recall, doesn't deal any basic attack damage because of her 8th. If her 8th skill is unlocked, she won't deal any basic attack damage, which means the negative 20% doesn't affect her in any way, shape, or form. She is only getting the positives. And then with this 35% plus 45%, or whatever it is, 80%, a shit ton. So that's why that's obviously a very good APC. It's a 9.5. It's basically going to beat out every single vehicle formation until we get into X heroes. or until, you know, you get into X Heroes, I guess, for the viewers watching. And that's pretty much regarded as three ladies or three sisters. That is kind of the name that it goes by. It's arguably the strongest pre-X Hero formation in the game. So that's basically the vehicle formations that's listed in this I guess image that has been floating around, circulating. These are all very good heroes, and they all, you know, have certain levels of synergy. It kind of depends on who you have, whether they're maxed, if they have, you know, their 8th skill, if they're fully maxed, if they're missing their 6th or their 8th or something like that. It definitely plays more into effect, but this is assuming everybody is maxed. And these are going to be the strongest formations, generally, for vehicles. I still think Organic, Ivanov, Anna is a good squad, but it's not listed here. But as I had mentioned, if you sort of mix and match these heroes, they'll do fairly well. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. I know it's a very long video, but it's a lot of detail. If you have any questions on this, please just leave a comment. And either myself or, you know, other commenters, feel free to kind of discuss these heroes. I know it's very confusing for people to kind of figure out how best to place their APCs. And again, this is only on Season X. I'll probably be doing more videos for the lower seasons to kind of just explain how to format your APCs for some of the newer players. But yeah, that's all for today, everybody. Like I said, I'll be doing the shooters, fighters, and mixed APCs in future videos, so please stay tuned. If you want, subscribe. I don't really care. Not really doing this for, you know, to gain subs or whatever the hell. Just to help people out. I get a lot of questions, like I said, from my app, and I'll be able to basically just show these videos to those who have questions. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody, and good luck in Last Shelter.